of the biodiversity, the climate and the land convention, but we will also have a focus on looking at the NDCs and the NB subs. So you have to switch on the thing. This event is also in the Brazilian Day, and we're looking for Belem and the COP30, and it's about food systems. And at one hand, our food system is under a high pressure due to climate change. It's the droughts, it's the flooding, but also it's the rising temperature. And at the same time, our food system is contributing to 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions. It's responsible for 90% of deforestation. It's responsible for high water use and biodiversity loss. So we have this dual situation that on one hand, food systems are suffering under climate change. At the other hand, they are contributing to climate change. At the same time, we are on a very important road now, because the member states have been asked to update their NDCs, their nationally determined contribution. And one of the targets of WWF, of our food program, is really the integration of food and agriculture in the nationally determined contribution. And I was just coming from Cali, where we also discussed how food and agriculture could be integrated in the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. My name is Martina Fleckenstein. I'm with WWF International, leading our policy work in our global food program, and I'm happy to moderate the session today. My first speaker is my lovely colleague from WWF Brazil, Tatiana Oliveira. She is International Policy Specialist at WWF Brazil, and she will talk us and bring us in the topic of the importance to align climate, biodiversity and land agendas.
Thank you. So welcome again to all of you attending this event in the WWF Pavilion. Actually, I will just make a call so that you stay tuned with us. This is our fourth panel today. We'll be here all the day long. We have debated so far financing NDCs, Brazil's role in the debate of global adaptation goals, and we have already also discussed forest financing, and now we are on the road to Belem, talking about how to integrate climate action, food systems, and biodiversity. As you may know as well, the agriculture and land use sector is the main emissions sector in Brazil. So I think this will be a very interesting conversation, a very important conversation for us to have on the road to Belem. Also, Brazil has recently launched its new NDC, the NDC 3.0, as we are all calling it. I mean, I'm already completely lost in time, but I believe yesterday maybe we had some news from the G20 in Brazil, so that also mentions the agri-food system, the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. So we are looking forward to hearing from it, Isabel. And yes, please have a very nice discussion, and the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tatiana. And yes, indeed, I think congratulations also to the G20 declaration. I think it's the first time that food system is mentioned in the G20, and also to bring together 20 head of states to sign the Global Alliance on Fight Against Hunger, which is a huge progress, and also congratulations, and it was very well received also, I have seen in the German newspapers, by the way, because it's built up on the G7 decision on the Global Alliance Against Hunger. So having said this,
Just one reminder to the public.
okay.
I'm sorry, I'm back. I will not delay the panel. I would just like to tell you that we have translation from Portuguese to English and vice versa. So if you need this help, please get the headphones here. One of our panelists will be speaking in Portuguese. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. I also will probably need later on to the translation. Okay, good. So I would like to invite my panelists now. I start with Isabel. Isabel is Gracia Drigo is a director of climate, land use policy, and public policy at Imaflora. She has a PhD in environmental science by Agro-Paris Tech Paris and more than 20 years experience in environmental and social field. Just have a seat where you want. I want to invite Moises. Where is he now? He's coming. Savian, he is currently serving as a Secretary of Land Governance, Territorial Development and Social Environmental Affairs at the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Family Agriculture, and very happy to have you here with us. And I'm happy to have not only Brazilians, but to have Jane Reuben from Kenya. She is in the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development and leading in the Climate Change Unit. And I have to look at Alejandra, but I don't know if we have Raoni here. No. So okay, so maybe we will have, we are still waiting for our fourth panelist. So you give me a sign if he's coming. I want to start with you, Isabel. And Tatiana already mentioned about the G20 and the NDCs, and maybe you could tell us a little bit more and reflect on how food and agriculture is integrated at the moment in the NDCs, and also especially in the NDCs there is mentioned that there will be some special targets under the climate plan defined for NDCs, and it would be great to hear a little bit more from your background, your experience, and I know you have been involved in this process, so happy to listen to you.
Thank you. So I will speak in English, my English. Okay, so first of all, actually we have good signs coming from G20. It's important as a political sign to have food systems included in the declaration. But we have also a new Brazilian NDC presented at this COP. And the plans included in this new NDC contain action and measures to transform agriculture and livestock in this document. And they are attractive. But to a large extent, they are plans with little implementation at scale. This is the key issue in Brazil, and I believe in other countries. We have good plans in some countries, like Brazil, but you have little implementation of them. For example, the NDC mentions the practices and technologies recommended by the Low Carbon Agriculture Plan. That is our Plano ABC, or ABC plan. That includes intensive cattle finishing, no-till farming, crop livestock forest integration, among other types of technology or practices. It's good, it's highly recommended, this practice. However, it requires implementation at large scale again. I will repeat several times this because it's really, really important. And it requires, of course, financing. Imaflora has projected a higher possible ambition for the agri-food sector. we cooperate with Climate Observatory in a proposal to the government of a more ambitious NDC. The most ambitious scenarios shows a potential 50% reduction in the sector net emissions, of course, in the agri-food sector. This means dropping from 400 million tons of carbon to 200 million tons until 2035. I say this in round figures, so you can check the exact numbers in our documents. But how do we achieve this more ambitious target? Our projections show that it will be necessary to invest in and recover 25 million hectares of degraded pastures land in addition to the government plans. It's additional to the current government plans. Also, it is needed to addition to the plans more area with integrated systems, around 18 million hectares more. And thinking about the agri-food system and all its links and implications, we also expect more actions that discuss the roadmap for moving from unsustainable to sustainable and inclusive systems. For us, this is also involves examining how and where to diversify production. This is especially important if you think about family farming, and I think that Moises will talk about this with us. So I finish for now like that.
Thanks a lot, and I think it's encouraging and it's great that Brazil is one of the first front runner to submit their NDCs. Still, I listen, there are still gaps which has to fulfill. We still have about 12 months time, more or less, but time is flying. So I would be interested also to hear from you, Moises, about your reflection on the first NDCs and how you see the role of agriculture reflected in the NDCs, and also explain a little bit in the NDCs. It's talk a lot about low carbon emission agriculture. So what would you understand by this, and to give us a little bit more insight also maybe in the next steps. And also maybe it would be interesting to take the lessons learned how your government has developed the NDCs. So also who was involved, has it been an all-of-society approach? I think this would be really important also for other member states to learn how to start and how to develop the NDCs. Thank you.
Bom dia a todos e todas. Vou dar tempo só para eles colocarem o equipamento. Vou falar em português, como tenho certeza que todos vocês irão para o Brasil, né, é importante ter noções mínimas de português para poder se virar no Brasil, né, onde que uma parcela muito pequena da população fala inglês, né? Então, primeiro, agradecer aqui o W, né, pelo convite, pela oportunidade de estar falando com vocês. Eu queria, antes de qualquer coisa, fazer também uma reflexão como brasileiro, como militante político que sou também, né, que nós passamos no Brasil por um processo bastante complexo de fragilização das instituições relacionadas ao meio ambiente, à proteção dos povos tradicionais, das comunidades indígenas e também da agricultura familiar. O nosso ministério havia sido criado no final da década de 90 e após a retirada da presidenta Dilma, ele foi extinto e ficou durante 6 anos sem um ministério que cuidasse dos povos e comunidades tradicionais e especialmente da agricultura familiar, né? Então, para nós, é um processo de reconstrução das políticas públicas. E para o presidente Lula, que é o 3º mandato, tendo a oportunidade de ter feito 2 mandatos antes, muito caracterizado pelo combate à pobreza, pela inclusão produtiva, né? Na minha avaliação, esse será um mandato em que o presidente Lula dará maior atenção às questões ambientais, né? E a demonstração disso ele começou a dar antes mesmo de assumir, ao ir até a COP. O primeiro evento dele como presidente eleito, evento internacional, foi a COP em Sharm el Sheikh, né, em que ele já anunciou o interesse do Brasil em sediar a COP, né? E agora, ano que vem, estaremos todos, né, na Amazônia brasileira, conhecendo um pouco das realidades e das dificuldades do território da Amazônia. Então, a nossa expectativa é conseguir, sim, implementar uma série de políticas inovadoras, uma série de políticas que demonstrem o resultado do governo brasileiro sobre esse aspecto. E em Dubai, Lula passou uma mensagem para todo o seu staff, né, ao dizer que o Brasil deveria governar pelo exemplo, né, deveria ser exemplo. Então, isso, ele mandou uma mensagem muito clara do que nós devemos fazer, o que nós temos que fazer enquanto país. E no Ministério do Desenvolvimento Agrário, nós escolhemos, né, como ação tanto a transformação dos sistemas agroalimentares e, no caso, na secretaria que eu dirijo, né, a agenda de florestas produtivas e bioeconomia. Essa é a nossa prioridade e é a contribuição que acreditamos que a agricultura familiar pode dar, né, nas NDCs e no sequestro de carbono, na geração de renda e tantos outros aspectos importantes, né. Nós participamos de outras agendas também, do combate ao desmatamento, da destinação de terras públicas. Como vocês sabem, o Brasil, né, a mudança no uso do solo é a principal contribuição, então a gente tem conseguido resultados no combate ao desmatamento, mas a nossa avaliação é que esse resultado, essa diminuição do combate ao desmatamento, ela vai chegar até um limite. Se nós não tivermos alternativas de produção florestal, com o uso da floresta, nós não vamos conseguir zerar esse desmatamento, porque existe toda uma economia por trás do garimpo, uma economia por trás do desmatamento, e nós precisamos gerar uma outra economia, que nós chamamos de nova, mas que não é nova porque as comunidades que estão lá fazem há muitos anos, né? E aí esse é o objetivo, então. O programa Floresta Produtiva, ele está direcionado diretamente à meta de restauração florestal, está inclusive no Plano Nacional de Recuperação de Vegetação Nativa, é uma ação nossa do Ministério do Desenvolvimento Agrário com o Ministério do Meio Ambiente, que tem como objetivo restaurar as áreas alteradas ou degradadas com sistemas agroflorestais, né? Então, nós iniciamos um projeto que nós estamos chamando de projeto inaugural no estado do Pará. No plano de expansão do programa, 3 novos estados vão ser atendidos, e nós estamos participando de um outro conjunto de ações que não são necessariamente o programa, mas que dialogam com a agenda, né? A principal delas é a chamada, é a ação do BNDES, que é o nosso Banco Nacional de Desenvolvimento, do Restaura Amazônia, onde que serão colocados em torno de 450 milhões de reais, 100 milhões de dólares, né, em ações e projetos para restauração. Então, o primeiro edital já vai ser lançado nos próximos dias, né, várias organizações foram contratadas para nos ajudar nesse processo. A gente tem uma expectativa muito grande em contribuir com essa questão, né. E para nós, da COP, para finalizar essa primeira parte, né, aqui da COP, nós esperamos que nós consigamos avançar nas negociações na discussão dos indicadores, né, relacionados à agricultura. Ela falou do plano ABC, de outras iniciativas. Como é que a gente monitora e como é que nós acompanhamos, né, se a meta está sendo cumprida? A meta por si só, né, vamos restaurar 15 milhões de hectares, né, mas como que nós medimos isso? Como que nós criamos, né, isso? Para nós é importante ter essa garantia e ter essas referências técnico-científicas, né, para poder mensurar de fato se as metas estão sendo cumpridas. Enfim, como uma primeira intervenção, né, queria muito provocar esse debate, colocar nosso ponto de vista e agradecer mais uma vez a oportunidade dessa fala aqui nesse espaço tão importante. Obrigado.
Yes, thanks a lot, and also thanks a lot for mentioning the challenges you have also on the monitoring and the measuring of the success. I think your country is not the only one who is fighting with exactly this problem and have the same challenge on the indicators and the measuring. But it's great to hear also about your restoration plans and agroforestry. It's then at the end also the question of the choice of native trees you are going to implement. From Brazil, now we go to another continent, to Africa and to Kenya. And just to explain, we as WWF, we have developed a guidance tool for NDC for food and agriculture and have this small card, so everybody who wants to see more, this is the barcode. It's a tool which is explaining or offering to countries a set of about 30 different policy measures, which is considering food governance, food environment, food production, supply chain, and consumption. Because what is important is that if we talk about the NDCs and food system, it has to really go beyond just the production, consider the value and supply chain, and also look at the consumption. And in this context, we are also organizing together with our partners in countries NDC dialogues, and we had one last year, not last year, this year in May in Kenya. And it would be great to hear a little bit more from you, Jane, how the progress is on the NDC development in Kenya, and maybe also to let us know a little bit about the challenges you maybe have in further development and the integration of food and agriculture system in NDCs.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I want to lay the background of Kenya. Agriculture informs the economy. 30% of Kenya's economy is informed by agriculture, and also the livelihoods in that particular country. So the agriculture sector is very, very essential and very critical. We've been able to develop our third NDC, and the third NDC, we are happy to say that we've been able to embrace several approaches. In the earlier NDC, we've been kind of restricted to maybe one approach, that is the climate smart agriculture. But however, because we have the agriculture multi-stakeholder platform, where we are able now to bring on board and synergize with the rest of the other approaches that will be very relevant for conservation of our biodiversity and our agroecology. Coupled with that, the Ministry of Agriculture has also is at the tail end of developing an agroecology strategy that embraces heavily the biodiversity, and which is very critical for the resilience of the food systems. And that is very critical. So we are at the tail end of our NDC. Actually, I think we only remaining with the validation of the NDC. And this particular NDC, we've embraced definitely under Article 2, where food security is very critical for the Ministry of Agriculture. Then productivity is very key, such that we don't trade off the climate action vis-a-vis the climate action. So how do we strike a balance between the two? That we have food security and nutrition, and we are able to balance our agroecological system of our food system for the same. So this is very critical, that we enhance the productivity in light of climate change and be able to preserve our biodiversity. And through several approaches like that has been alluded by Martina, we have WWF and other like-minded stakeholders that came on board and be able to have an integrated NDC on management and conservation of the food system biodiversity. And this is very critical, and it's very exciting for us to be able to see the way we forge forward for the same. The other key aspect is building the resilience in light of climate change. That's very critical. That's the second pillar of the NDC. That we, in light of climate change, how do we cushion our farmers toward the climate change impact? So again, this has been looked into critically, how we are able to conserve the biodiversity of our food systems, and we are able to also to make the country food secure. The third, the other key pillar on our NDC is low carbon development in agriculture sector, where we have embraced the mitigation aspect, and especially through the livestock, which is very key for agriculture. And so this basically is how do we manage the pasture, how do we restore through maybe agroforestry. That is what we call silvopasture. That's where we have pasture and we have fodder trees, and how do we manage the manure. And with that, and then there is the new terminology, carbon capture, the methane capture. And this is integrated. I would say it is a circular economy where we use the waste from livestock as organic manure into our crop field and maybe the pasture lands to be able to get organic nutrients from there for our crops and our pastures. So basically, I would say that's what we've been able to do, and to say that this has been borrowed from our key stakeholders that have been brought on board, because issues of coordination was a challenge. I would say that was our key challenge, to be able to bring other stakeholders in agriculture sector for climate action to synergize and work together. So basically, I would say that's one of the challenges. The other challenge is like my friend here alluded to, is the data gap and the measurements. How you are able to kind of account for the impacts of resilience. How much are you able to achieve, or how much emissions are from these food systems? Because basically, I would say they're very much fragmented. The food systems are several and very much fragmented. So how do you have a comprehensive to be able to account for the same and show the impacts of the same, of the above? The other key aspect about that is bringing bringing the adaptation and mitigation together. Because they seem also to be kind of apart, and I see agriculture as a link between adaptation and mitigation, because there is no way you can delink one from the other. So there is that particular challenge of how do we link and be able to synergize the adaptation and mitigation, which are critical, because one is a core benefit of the other. So basically, I would say those are the challenges, and I would say maybe the other thing is also maybe I would say the issues of rampant weather that is ravaging the country, and maybe sometimes we kind of take steps backward from the rampant I would say climate weather that we have in Kenya, and especially so in terms of floods, in terms of drought, that maybe small steps maybe we have kind of revert back to where we started. But we are not giving up, and we are still looking for ways to pass through these obstacles. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. And once again, I think it's really encouraging listening to you, listening to the example from Brazil, listening to your experience now in Kenya. And I think one thing you mentioned is really this alignment of mitigation and adaptation. So very often it's really difficult to differentiate if it's mitigation or adaptation. At the other hand, the finance is in different boxes. And that's also a challenge we have in the implementation later on the NDCs. May I ask one more question? And it's both of you, both of your countries have started or have already launched the NDCs, where we as WWF are also interested is the integration of the whole food system, which means also food loss and waste and diets. And I don't know who wants to answer from the Brazilian representative how food loss and waste and diets is or will be integrated. I know it's a challenge if we talk about measuring, but it would be interesting. And the same question also to you, Jane. I know that you have already in Kenya a food loss and waste legislation or initiative. So the doors are open, but is this a topic who will also be reflected later on in the NDCs, or is it already reflected? I don't know who wants to answer from Brazil. Moses, okay.
Bom, acho que esse é um tema bastante importante, né? Tanto o do desperdício, como também a questão da utilização dos compostos, né? Dos compostos orgânicos que são gerados pelas cidades. Né? Nós, no Ministério do Desenvolvimento Agrário, tivemos, né, com a criação do Ministério e do Governo, o estabelecimento de uma secretaria específica para tratar do abastecimento. Para nós isso é muito importante, fazer essa conexão entre a produção e o consumo, né? Isso é fundamental para discutir, para avançar na ótica dos sistemas agroalimentares, né? Nós temos uma companhia, né? A Companhia Nacional de Abastecimento, que é uma grande empresa pública que cuida do abastecimento do Brasil, dos estoques públicos, que agora ela passou a ser vinculada ao nosso Ministério, né? E nós achamos que isso é importante, né, o Ministério ganhar uma perspectiva de agricultura e alimentação. Não sei se todo mundo sabe, mas é importante dizer, né, no Ministério nós temos 2 Ministérios da Agricultura, né? Um da Agricultura e Pecuária, mais ligado à produção de commodities e grandes produtores, e nós, o Ministério do Desenvolvimento Agrário, que cuida da maior parte da população rural, agricultores familiares, povos e comunidades tradicionais, inclusive, né, os indígenas acessam políticas públicas direcionadas pelo nosso Ministério. E, além disso, temos o Ministério da Pesca, né? Então, isso é para dar conta, né, de um país tão grande, tão diverso e tão cheio de problemas, né? E um outro aspecto que acho que é fundamental é o aspecto ligado aos resíduos sólidos produzidos pelas cidades. Metade do resíduo produzido no nosso país é um resíduo orgânico, que poderia ser reutilizado, poderia gerar bioenergia, né? Então é um componente importante também a ser colocado. Mas o destaque do Brasil está relacionado às nossas principais emissões na NDC, né? Que uma é a mudança no uso do solo. E aí, para isso, necessariamente, nós temos que acabar com o desmatamento no Brasil, né? Chegar a um desmatamento ilegal, zero, mas quem sabe um desmatamento zero, né? Então, esse é o nosso sonho também. Nós temos conseguido resultados importantes, né, no governo Lula, né? Agora, no último ano, nós tivemos uma redução de 30% no desmatamento da Amazônia e 25% no Cerrado. No Cerrado, nossa luta ela é um pouco mais difícil, porque nós temos menos áreas públicas, mais difícil, né, porque temos menos áreas públicas, menos unidades de conservação, menos terras indígenas, então o mercado de terras, a expansão do agronegócio opera muito forte ali. Né, mas a gente conseguiu reduzir, isso é um avanço, foi um passo importante no último ano, né? Eu acho que São desafios que têm que estar refletidos aí nos compromissos do Brasil e com certeza nas políticas públicas já estão. Né?
Th Yeah, like I had alluded, is that Kenya has had several stakeholders on board, and especially so the WWF. And like I had alluded that especially for the food losses, we considered this as a priority in our to be launched agroecology strategy. And even within the new NDC is well entrenched that the food losses, how do we see how do we get the opportunity in that, and that provide the circular economy from the waste, and how do we improve sustainable, healthy diets for our communities, vis-a-vis maybe what I would call, I would say, not very healthy diets. So how do we have that? And that can be only be gotten from a clean environment or bio food systems that with less pollution. So how do we go about that? So that is well articulated that everything that can be done and be achieved through these particular policies are in place, and also now through the new NDC, that we should have integrated conservation of our food system and make them resilient. The other key aspect is also the post harvest, pre and post harvest losses, and especially so because of the weather systems. This also is very critical, and we are looking for ways how do we reduce this. Right now it's at around 30, 35. So how do we bring it down? And again, this is also entrenched in the NDC. How do we bring the pre and post because of the weather pattern? That is also very critical, and informs and also informs the policy aspects, and that is through our new to be launched agroecology strategy that embraces heavily the biodiversity. And then we also have other initiatives. We are currently, as the country, we are carrying out climate action in all the regions. We call them counties. And this is a key aspect because we feel if you can lose 30% of your produce because of pre or post, then if we would be able to rope in and be able to conserve this will be very critical for the country in terms of economy, in terms of livelihood, in terms of conservation and less emission, and especially so from maybe the spoilage, less emission, and less so it's an integrated thing, the economy, the planet, and the social aspect of it. So this is also integrated in the same. And I think with that, I think I had alluded to most of the other elements in my area talk. So thank you.
Thank you, and also thanks for both of you giving us more details about integrating of this systemic approach in the new NDCs. And what I understand is that it's really a push forward compared to the NDCs we had in 5 years back. And it's a good sign looking for 2030 on the NDCs. We are, let me move to another question, which is more on the title of our event here, is this better alignment. We are this year we have all the 3 Rio Convention conferences within 3 months. So we're coming from Cali, we are here in Baku, and we have the next conference, UNCCG, in Riyadh in 1.5 weeks. Very often the content and the measures in the 3 conventions are very similar. Let me take the example of restoration. We have restoration, it's a target in the Global Biodiversity Framework. Restoration, improving soil health has to do with sequestration of carbon and reducing of carbon in the climate context. And if you look at the UNCCG, it's one of the high-level priorities is on restoration. At the same time, and we had the discussion in Cali, we are here to talk about financing the implementation. So very often we are competing on the same funds, on the same financial sources. And I would like to a little bit hear from my panelists what your ideas are on bringing a better alignment at the global but also at national level, because very often the different conventions are allocated to different ministries. So if you have some thoughts on this, which you could give us and the audience here on the better alignment of the 3 Rio Convention. And I start with you, Isabel.
I think I will take advantage of the translators. The translators need to work, so I will speak in Portuguese now. Bom, realmente essa questão da necessidade de alinhamento entre todos os compromissos é muito grande. Por exemplo, estávamos discutindo no Brasil, ali entre os parceiros do Imaflora, que talvez a Conferência do Clima e a Conferência da Biodiversidade tivessem que acontecer juntas, né? Talvez. Poderíamos economizar, inclusive, talvez em recursos e uma pegada de carbono menor dos nossos deslocamentos. Não, mas não, deixando a brincadeira de lado, realmente por quê? Porque quando falamos também nos sistemas agroalimentares, estamos falando no Brasil na necessidade de ter biodiversidade dentro das fazendas, né? E isso conversa totalmente com a Convenção da Biodiversidade. Quando estamos falando em desertificação, estamos vendo as secas severas e áreas do Brasil, do semiárido brasileiro, ficando inviáveis, né, inclusive para a produção. Então, tem muita conexão. Agora, como fazer esse alinhamento? Um dos meios, talvez, sejam os nossos governos e os nossos negociadores terem muitas reuniões prévias de coordenação antes dessas conferências. Nós não podemos juntá-las no mesmo espaço durante um mês inteiro, né, que é uma coisa que não parece muito imaginável, mas pelo menos ter mais coordenação entre os negociadores que vão estar nessas diferentes conferências. E eu aproveito só para emendar e para adicionar a necessidade de maior coordenação também dentro das instâncias de governo, né? Então, o Moisés aqui, representando o Ministério do Desenvolvimento Agrário, nós temos o Ministério do Desenvolvimento Agrário, um plano safra, que é o crédito agrícola para a agricultura familiar, o crédito agrícola que está com o Ministério da Agricultura e Pecuária, que é para a agricultura comercial, mas a agricultura familiar e a agricultura comercial se encontram em algumas cadeias, né? Nós temos produtores de gado que produzem ali o bezerro, que vão fornecer para um outro produtor, às vezes um pouco maior, que vai fornecer para um outro e esse gado vai chegar num frigorífico. As emissões têm que ser reduzidas ao longo de toda essa cadeia. Então, o contexto do produtor familiar, que ali onde nasceu o bezerro, e dos outros perfis de produtores, são contextos diferentes e as soluções não são necessariamente as mesmas. Então, nós precisamos de alinhamento no nível global, mas também de coordenação e alinhamento dentro dos nossos países para que a NDC saia realmente do papel.
Bom, eu concordo com a colocação da minha companheira brasileira aqui. E eu queria falar um pouco das possibilidades de integração, né? E vou falar muito mais como pesquisador, como professor que sou, do que como membro do governo, né? Quando a gente fala em agricultura de baixo carbono, né, ela é uma agricultura de base ecológica, ela é uma agricultura que atende, né, aos objetivos da biodiversidade, aos objetivos de combater a desertificação. Na prática, soja com cobertura de solo pode ser agricultura de baixo carbono, porque diminuiu, você colocou cobertura de solo, eu sou da área da agronomia, né? Colocou cobertura de solo, fixou carbono, então aumentamos a área de agricultura de baixo carbono, mas estamos com uma cultura, um monocultivo, grandes áreas, sem comunidades tradicionais, sem envolvimento de comunidades. Então, se nós tivéssemos um olhar mais holístico para as políticas públicas e falar da agricultura que tem carbono, tem biodiversidade, tem práticas que conservam, que buscam, né, evitar a desertificação, né? Então nós temos uma política completa, um sistema completo, né? Então por isso que o próprio monitoramento, os indicadores precisam considerar os objetivos do clima e o objetivo da biodiversidade, né? Então eu acredito que sim, nós poderíamos avançar para uma visão mais integrada das convenções, de objetivos que fossem comuns a elas para tomar decisões melhores, né? Eu acho que no Brasil nós sentimos muito forte esse ano os efeitos das mudanças climáticas. Nós tivemos uma seca na Amazônia, tivemos uma inundação, uma super chuva num estado do sul do Brasil, que levou umas perdas muito grandes, tanto do ponto de vista humano, econômico e social. Isso foi uma amostra, né? Uma amostra dessa pandemia do clima que nós vamos enfrentar. Então, as mudanças são necessárias e precisam ser urgentes, por isso que o maior diálogo entre as convenções seria muito importante, ao meu ver. Obrigado.
Okay, thank you. And I think I want to agree with my colleagues here that there is need for convergency such that we are able to synergize on these efforts and initiatives that we have. And even within this particular conference, why should adaptation and mitigation be treated differently? Because I believe, like I had alluded, is that adaptation and mitigation for agriculture forms the link between the two. There is no way you delink the two. So this is an opportunity for us, and especially so for the restoration of our degraded lands, especially so in Kenya. So, and I look at this as a very big opportunity, both economically, to be able to form a green economy for our countries, and also be able to kind of leverage on the resources that are existing in all ways. I saw the timer go up, and thank you. I think it's well summed by my colleagues here. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think the discussion on this alignment has just started. And our perception is that this is getting more and more important from the fact that this traveling from one place in the world to another, it's also CO2 emissions, to the fact that really on the ground the implementation has to be better aligned. And I think this will really is a topic which will be carried forward over the next years. Also to mention WWF, we have put a small paper on our website under our food practice on expecting on these ideas on the alignment of the three conventions. We have a little bit of time now also for questions, and I see there is one question. And there is a second one. So the microphone is coming, and we take the two questions, and then from you, three short answers. Okay, the women in red and the women in black. And maybe you could also introduce yourself, please.
Hi, thank you. I'm Fratel Ron. I am the founder of EcoStrategies, And our aim is to use AI to integrate exactly the kind of issues that you raised, the different conferences that we are here for 12 days. I don't think that many of the sessions are recorded, not let alone, using AI to summarize them, to integrate them. So just like you said, we're in this huge conference with all this knowledge, including the knowledge that you four have brought on board. And I don't see that, the technologies that are available to us are used. So my question is it really the situation as I describe, or is AI and other IT used to make these integration issues, more viable or more?
Good, thanks. Good question. I have one more, and then I ask you for quick answers.
Olá, bom dia. Me escutam? Não. Sim? Yes, thank you. Sou Gisele Bortolini, sou coordenadora geral de promoção da alimentação saudável no Ministério do Desenvolvimento Social e Combate à Fome. E eu queria só compartilhar um pouco de um marco de ação de sistemas alimentares e clima que nós estamos elaborando. E o objetivo desse marco é justamente integrar esse conjunto de ações que precisam ser fomentadas, tanto de mitigação quanto adaptação, da produção ao consumo. Porque hoje o plano, tanto o plano de adaptação quanto a mitigação, que estão em curso no Brasil, em consulta pública, eles são por setor. Então, se você quiser entender quais as ações do governo brasileiro para adaptação ou mitigação, você vai precisar olhar vários planos. Então, por exemplo, no adaptação tem um plano de segurança alimentar e nutricional, que eu fui responsável por elaborar, está pronto. Tem da agricultura familiar, tem da agricultura, tem de transporte. Então, é difícil conseguir olhar o sistema alimentar como um todo, e a gente está elaborando esse marco para pautar esse debate na COP30 no Brasil.
Okay, two short questions. The one is the one is on AI, and the second one on this alignment of mitigation education. And I have got to get the sign. We very short answers, please.
Sim, bem brevemente, eu acho que sim, a inteligência artificial pode ter um papel, mas eu pessoalmente acredito em inteligência artificial com boas referências humanas. Então, como nós humanos vamos resolver, por exemplo, todas as perspectivas diferentes sobre quais são vistas sistemas agroalimentares. Como informar a partir da inteligência artificial, se nós não temos ainda uma consistência em certas definições. Então, acho que sim, para não ficar... Mas acho que é um desafio ter a produção humana do conhecimento consolidada para que a AI possa ajudar.
Bom, de minha parte também muito rápido pela questão do tempo, nós acreditamos que a inteligência artificial ela pode sim ser uma importante ferramenta de desenvolvimento das alternativas que nós precisamos aqui para atender as questões do clima. Nós no Ministério acabamos de contratar uma universidade brasileira para desenvolver termos de referência para nós sobre inteligência artificial e agricultura familiar, porque isso fica muito ligado à grande agricultura empresarial, e nós acreditamos que podemos ter alternativas a essa questão via a inteligência artificial. E a minha colega de governo do MDS, com certeza, ela daria uma resposta melhor que a minha, sobre a questão das NDCs e o desperdício de alimento. Nós temos, com certeza, uma atuação. O Ministério do Desenvolvimento Social e Combate à Fome tem uma importante atuação na segurança alimentar e nutricional do Brasil, é quem lidera o tema. Tem iniciativas de fomento rural, entre tantas outras. A gente fica feliz que vocês estão aqui também, com essa preocupação que o governo brasileiro e a sociedade tem, brasileira, com relação à COP Clima, e como nós vamos atender as responsabilidades do país. Obrigado.
Jane, a last short answer.
Okay, thank you. And I would say that I agree with them that AI is very critical, that so we don't duplicate in our small silos. So instead of that, we could build on what is existing. That would be very critical for this space, and especially for the food system, so that we synergize for the resources and leverage on the existing resources. Thank you.
Yes, and I would like to thank my panel. I think the discussion on the alignment on AI just has started. Thanks for all your input, and also thanks, we are on a good roadway. We are looking for Belem, and hopefully then we have all the new updated NDCs and not just 3 like we are here. And yeah, that's from my side, and I wish you a nice afternoon.
Thank you.